I stood in the center of the atrium, my heels clicking against the imported limestone like a gavel striking a judge's bench. It was 11:47 p.m. Around me, 3 servers were quietly breaking down untouched trays of beluga caviar and pouring vintage Napa Cabernet down the drain. The string quartet had packed their instruments hours ago. My $4.1 million cliffside estate overlooking the Pacific Coast Highway in California was perfectly silent, save for the low hum of the climate system cycling through its night mode. I checked my phone. One notification. It was from my mother, Linda. "We're exhausted, sweetheart. Mark's futon was a nightmare to put together. Rain check." I stared at the screen. They hadn't missed my housewarming because of an emergency. They missed it because assembling a cheap piece of furniture for my 20-year-old brother was more important than celebrating the empire I built. Before I tell you how I dismantled them, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of this community. My pulse didn't spike. In my world, panic is just inefficient code. I simply turned to the head caterer and said, "Pack the rest. You can go." My voice didn't shake. It was clinical, precise. The tone you use when you realize a long-term investment has finally gone insolvent. I walked through the empty halls of the West Wing. This house, this sprawling architectural statement suspended over the ocean, was supposed to be my victory lap. I designed it with them in mind. The guest suites were soundproofed for my father Richard's light sleeping habits. The kitchen was stocked with the exact brand of organic chamomile tea my mother claimed she couldn't live without. I had built a castle to protect them, to impress them, to finally earn my seat at the table. But as my footsteps echoed through the corridor, I realized something I should have understood years ago. I wasn't the queen of this castle. I was the architect of my own loneliness. The silence in a house this large isn't peaceful. It's heavy. It presses against your eardrums. It's a physical reminder of the distance between who you are and who you want it to be for them. I had built a fortress, but the drawbridge was up, and I was the only one inside. The ocean crashed against the cliffs below in a violent, rhythmic thud, like a heartbeat the house didn't have. It felt like a museum of a life I hadn't lived yet, curated for an audience that preferred the mud. I pulled up Instagram. I needed data. And there it was, posted 37 minutes ago. A photo of my parents, Richard and Linda, sitting on the floor of a cramped luxury apartment, pizza boxes stacked on a designer coffee table. My brother Mark was front and center in a hoodie, laughing with his mouth open. My father had his arm around him, beaming in a way he never looked at me. Not when I sold my first software company, not when I bought this house. The caption read, "New chapter for our boy. First night in the new place. Priorities." Priorities. The word burned itself into my retina. The contrast was visceral. Here I was, surrounded by the scent of expensive lilies and the cold perfection of glass and steel. There they were, smelling of pepperoni, grease, and unconditional love. They didn't hate my success. They were intimidated by it. My success required them to level up to meet me on a plane of excellence they couldn't reach. Mark's incompetence, that was comfortable. That was familiar. His neediness made them feel useful. My independence made them feel obsolete. I looked at my reflection in the floor-to-ceiling glass. Silk dress, perfect posture. I looked like a statue. "Okay," I whispered to the empty room. I wasn't sad anymore. Sadness implies the loss of something valuable. This wasn't a loss, it was a data point, a final, irrefutable metric confirming that the ROI on this relationship was 0. I opened my security app and scrolled to the user profiles. Mom, Dad, the digital access keys I had activated just yesterday, giving them unrestricted entry to the estate. My finger hovered over the delete icon. I didn't press it. Not yet. Deleting a key was too small, too quiet. If they wanted to prioritize Mark, fine, I would let them. But I was going to make sure they understood exactly what that prioritization cost. I turned off the lights in the West Wing, plunging the museum into darkness. then walked into my office and sat behind the desk. I opened my laptop. It was time to audit the books. The screen glowed blue in the dark. I wasn't reviewing company earnings. I was inside the family cloud account, the digital archive of every receipt, invoice, and financial transaction my father carelessly synced over the past 5 years. He always said he was bad with technology. He wasn't bad at it. He was arrogant. He assumed I would never look. I clicked on a folder labeled Mark Education. Inside was a PDF invoice dated 3 weeks ago. Luxury student residence penthouse suite, 12-month lease. The total, furniture package, entertainment system, concierge services included, came to $48,700. I stared at the number. Then I closed my eyes and let the memory surface. Not emotional, financial. 7 years ago, I was 23, coding the beta version of my first platform on a laptop that overheated if I opened more than 10 tabs. I worked 3 jobs: barista at 5 a.m., data entry at noon, coding until 3 a.m. I asked my father for a $5,000 loan to cover server costs, just a loan, with interest. I remembered his exact words over dinner I paid for. "We don't have the liquidity right now, Natalie. You need to learn grit. Handouts make you soft." Grit. I opened my eyes and looked back at Mark's invoice. Quartz countertops, in-unit washer and dryer, gaming lounge. Mark didn't need grit. Mark needed a resort. I scrolled further. 2 years ago, the car loan. My father loved telling this story at holidays. I co-signed her first real car, got her on the road. He said it like a badge of honor. The ledger told the truth. He co-signed, yes. Then 6 months later, after his day trading account imploded, he called me in a panic. He couldn't make his truck payment. I wired him $11,500. I paid off my own car to remove his name from the title, then covered 3 months of his mortgage so he wouldn't default. He never paid me back. He never thanked me. Instead, he rewrote history. In his version, he saved me. In reality, I was the silent partner keeping him solvent. I leaned back in my Herman Miller chair, the leather cool against my skin. For years, I thought I was just the daughter. I believed that if I became successful enough, impressive enough, wealthy enough, I would graduate from burden to pride. But looking at the numbers, nearly $50,000 from Mark's comfort and $0 for my survival, I finally understood the business model of my family. I wasn't the daughter. I was the resource. Mark wasn't the son. He was the investment. You don't nurture a generator. You extract power from it until it burns out. They poured everything into Mark because he was their vanity project, the reflection of the life they wanted but couldn't afford. My success didn't make them proud. It made them resentful. Every check I wrote reminded them of their own mediocrity. "Okay," I said again. The justification was complete. I didn't owe them loyalty, I didn't owe them gratitude, and I certainly didn't owe them a key to my house. I closed the education folder and opened a new tab. Public records. If they could spend nearly $50,000 on a dorm while claiming cash flow issues, the money had to be coming from somewhere. My father hadn't made a successful trade in over a decade. I typed in my parents' address and waited. The search bar spun. Then the first domino fell. 2 days later, I went on the offensive, not with an argument, but with an asset display. I posted a 60-second high-definition video tour of the West Wing on social media. No emotional captions, no gratitude. I wrote it like a portfolio entry. 3,000-square-foot guest wing, ocean views, Onyx in-suite, ready for occupancy. It went viral in under 3 hours. Strangers commented about dream lives. Former classmates sent messages dripping with envy. But I was waiting for one notification. At 4:09 p.m., it arrived. He didn't like the post. He didn't comment "congratulations" or "proud of you." He sent a text. "That West Wing, is it fully furnished? I might need a place to crash for a few weeks. Business is complicated. Send me the gate code." I stared at the screen, feeling the blood drain from my face, not from fear, but from the icy precision of his entitlement. Send me the gate code. He wasn't asking, he was requisitioning. In that moment, the final piece of the psychological puzzle snapped into place. I finally understood why my success enraged them, while Mark's failure endeared him to them. It's a concept I'd studied in business psychology, but seeing it play out in my own bloodline was sobering. To a narcissistic parent, an independent child isn't a person, they're an asset class. When the asset performs well, you don't congratulate it, you liquidate it, you extract value. He didn't love me, he loved my utility. He loved that I was a resource he could tap when his own poor management created a deficit. Mark was the emotional child, the one they projected their fantasies onto. I was the resource child, the insurance policy they felt entitled to cash out the moment they crashed their own car. He wanted the gate code because he believed he owned the asset. He believed that by donating genetic material 29 years ago, he retained a controlling interest in my life. I might need a place to crash. The casualness was the weapon. He minimized the ask to make it sound like he was doing me a favor by occupying my space. I didn't reply. I didn't say no. I didn't ask why. I took a screenshot of the message, closed the app, and opened my contacts. I scrolled to Emily. Emily wasn't just my best friend. She was a shark in a silk blouse. As a high-end interior designer for Northern California's wealthiest families, she knew every real estate secret in the county: who was buying, who was selling, and who was quietly liquidating assets to stay out of bankruptcy court. She picked up on the first ring. "Natalie, I saw the video tour. The lighting is flawless. Tell me you're celebrating." "I'm not celebrating," I said. "I'm auditing. I need a favor." "Name it." "Run a title search on my parents' house, 1842 Alder Ridge Lane. I need to know if there are any liens, judgments, or recent activity." She paused. The social tone evaporated. "Why?" "Because my father just asked for the gate code to my estate. He says business is complicated and wants to crash. Men like my father don't crash, Emily. They occupy." "Understood," she said. "Give me 10 minutes. I'll pull the county records and MLS history." We hung up. I didn't pace. I didn't wring my hands. I opened my own laptop and checked the civil court database. I felt calm. For 29 years, my relationship with my family had lived in a fog of guilt and obligation. Data was clean. Data didn't gaslight. Data didn't rewrite history. Data just was. I searched my father's name. A few parking violations, nothing major. I checked his business filings. Active, but fees paid late 3 years in a row. Cracks, but not collapse. Not enough to justify desperation. My phone rang. 7 minutes. Emily's voice was lower now. "I have it." "Tell me." "On the surface, the deed looks fine. Bought in 98, appreciated well." She paused. I dug deeper. 18 months ago, a secondary lien was recorded. Private lender, high interest. "How much?" $260,000. My mind raced. That was the exact month Mark got into that private university, the same year my mother suddenly showed up in a new SUV. "He took out equity," I said. "Yes, but that's not the problem." "What is?" "The filing from 3 days ago. It's a notice of trustee sale." "Translate that." I already knew. "He stopped paying 6 months ago. Foreclosure is active. Auction is next Tuesday." I stared out at the ocean. Next Tuesday. He doesn't own that house anymore, Emily. He's days from eviction. He's not visiting. He's homeless. The missed housewarming, the exhaustion, the complicated business. They weren't rude. They were panicking. They looked at my success as a life raft. They weren't coming to celebrate me. They were coming to survive off of me. "Send me everything," I said. "Done. Natalie, what are you going to do?" I looked at the security monitor on my desk. The long driveway was empty for now. "I'm going to protect my asset." I opened the file she sent. It wasn't just foreclosure paperwork. It was an autopsy. 18 months ago, the loan, the predatory interest rate. They had leveraged the only thing they owned to fund a fantasy for Mark. They bet their entire existence on the golden child, and the return was 0. I checked my father's notice to vacate. Midnight tonight. It hit me then. They didn't miss my gala because they were tired. They missed it because they were packing their lives into storage units. And the text asking for the gate code wasn't about a visit. It was about residency. I knew the law. If I let them in, if I let one suitcase cross my threshold, they could establish tenancy. Months of lawyers, months of bleeding resources. They weren't visiting, they were invading. They were going to call it family obligation. My phone buzzed. Motion detected at the main gate. Motion detected, main gate. License plate recognized. Richard. I pulled up the live feed. There it was. My father's SUV idling at the bottom of the long, winding driveway. The rear suspension sagged low, weighed down by boxes stacked to the ceiling. They hadn't come with the bottle of wine. They had come with everything they owned. I checked the time. 6:38 p.m. Early. Desperate, and assuming the daughter who always paid the bills, the daughter who chased their approval, would buzz them in without hesitation. They were wrong. That daughter was gone. She disappeared the moment they chose a futon over her future. The woman in this office was the CEO of her own life, and she was about to execute a hostile takeover of the narrative. I picked up my iPad. No fear, just the clean precision of a surgeon lifting a scalpel. I opened the smart home control panel. System override. The intercom chirped sharply, echoing through the office. I activated the audio feed but kept my microphone muted. I wanted to hear them first. "She's probably in the back," my mother said, her voice thin and nervous. "What if she's not home?" "Her car's here," my father snapped. "She's home. She's probably just working." He said working like it was a hobby. "Keep buzzing. She'll let us in. She always does." She always does. Their entire retirement plan condensed into 3 words. I unmuted the mic. "State your business." My voice filled the SUV, calm and amplified. My father jumped, then leaned out the window, forcing a smile that looked grotesque on his flushed face. "Natalie, honey, you scared us. The gate's closed. We were in the area and thought we'd surprise you. We brought wine." He held up a cheap bottle. "You're not in the area, Dad. You live 40 miles away. And you didn't bring wine. You brought boxes." His smile cracked. "Those are donations for the church. It's cold. Just open the gate so we can talk." "I know about the shadow mortgage," I said. "I know about the $260,000 you borrowed to gamble on Mark's life. And I know that as of midnight tonight, you don't have a house to go back to." Silence. My mother started crying, hands over her face. My father's skin went from pale to purple. "You have no right," he barked. "I'm your father. I raised you. I co-signed your car. You owe me this. Open the gate." "I owe you nothing. I paid that car off 7 years ago. I covered your mortgage when you forgot. I have the receipts. Do you?" "We're family," he screamed, slamming the wheel. "You can't leave us on the street. We just need a few weeks until the settlement comes through." "There is no settlement. There is an auction next Tuesday." He stepped out of the SUV and marched toward the camera, eyes wild. "If you don't open this gate, I'll sue you. I'll tell everyone what kind of daughter you are. I'll break this lock myself." "You're welcome to try. Before you do, check your phone." I looked down at my iPad. The smart home app glowed. His user profile was highlighted. This wasn't a tap. It was an execution. I pressed revoke access. A red banner flashed. Access denied. Permanent ban active. Biometric data wiped. Then I opened the family group chat. Aunts, uncles, Mark. I uploaded the foreclosure notice, then the invoice for Mark's $47,000 dorm. I typed one line. "You didn't come to warm my house. You came to burn it down to keep yourselves warm. My home is not your lifeboat. Figure it out." Send. On the monitor, I watched my father's phone light up. He read. His knees buckled. "You posted this?" he whispered. "To everyone?" "You wanted to crash, Dad. Now you have." I cut the audio feed. Outside, he screamed and rattled the iron bars, but inside the glass cliff, there was silence. Perfect protective silence. I watched the SUV reverse and disappear into the coastal fog, 2 red eyes fading into nothing. He didn't come back. Men like my father rely on the assumption that you'll always open the door. Once they learn the lock is real, they fold. 2 days later, the foreclosure auction happened. The house I grew up in sold to developers for pennies. Mark didn't finish the semester. With the lease voided and my father's credit ruined, he moved into a shared studio with 3 other guys. A real mattress. Maybe he'll learn. Grit. I stepped on the west wing balcony as the sun sunk, painting the Pacific in bruised gold and purple. For the first time since breaking ground, the silence didn't feel lonely. It felt impenetrable. I spent my life building bridges for people who only wanted to burn them. Tonight, I understood I didn't need a bridge. I needed a moat. I opened the smart home app, renamed the location from the estate to the sanctuary, turned off my phone, and listened to the ocean hold the line. Family isn't who you share blood with, it's who you share respect with. If this story resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends who need to hear it, and comment your perspective or the key lesson you took away.